14th. Let's get started with a risk disclaimer. We know there's risk in trading. Please don't always use trade capital only. Do not trade with the money you cannot afford to lose. Whether trading stocks, options, futures, forex, cryptos, you know the deal. If you're following me on social media, this is me, youtube.com/Chris Pulver. All the other handles, I try to make them as consistent as I can. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Real Chris Pulver. I also just started up a Discord channel. I'm going to get that organized this weekend, and I'll share that information next week for the Pulver Report. So you can come in and check it out. I'll post trade ideas. I'll link up everything to my YouTube videos and education and stuff like that, and have a look. All right, let's get into the charts. Currency strength this morning. Things are pretty quiet on the axis or the vertical scale. We had yen strength, and then now we have yen weakness. So a big turnaround on the yens, which wasn't a huge surprise. We did have about 3 or 4 days of strength from last week, Thursday, Friday, into this week, Monday, Tuesday, even into Wednesday. The dollar has been hit pretty hard. Took a trade yesterday on the dollar Swiss. Talked about that in a couple of webinars. I'll show that right now. And let me get logged into YouTube and say good morning to everybody. I bought the dollar Swiss at around, let me see if I got filled. I don't think I got filled at my 85.50 entry, but I bought it at 85.94 yesterday. There's the quick trade to the fourth pivot. I'm looking to trade it back into this pocket right in here. So nice little price pocket and third pivot right around this 8,700 handle. So I'm scaling into this. I'm just looking to see if we are going to, end up either creating a low and then working our way back up, or we just make a quick move back to 87. So that's my target. I'm just leveling in on a couple of spots. Right. Let's see. Looking at the SPY this morning. Good stretch to 452. Let's go back to the SPY. Chart alarm just went off. What was that? Good RX cross in 750. That's a pleasant chart alarm. Yes, indeed. GDRX up just on that gap, about 31%. Take a look at the daily time frame. Off these recent lows, this thing is ripping. So we have a $7 call that's doing pretty well. Have a look here. Let's go GDRX in the notes. $1.50 debit. Curious what that's trading for right now. Let's find out. Should be worth a couple bucks. And while I'm loading that up, I'll jump on the YouTube channel and say good morning, everybody. GDRX right here, long call. It was a buy to open for January, and I think it was a 750. $5 long call, even better. So the $5 long call, we paid $1.50. Now it's up $2.80 bid. We're almost up 100% on that trade, and let it continue to run. So we might look at protecting profit on that this morning. There's still time. We're probably still in that sweet spot since this has been just a really nice run to the upside. We did the $5 call right in here, and it's up about 50%. Our position's up about 100%. So it's nice when you can take some trades and outpace the actual instrument. So very good, very good. YouTube.com/Chris Pulver. Let's say hi to everybody. Good morning, good morning. All right. Oh, everyone's busy. Good morning, Jason. Please make the dollar and yen strong. All right. Well, trade size and Jason, come on, man. We know better than fighting the yen, right? You're trading in 2022. Trade short term, dude. Shorter term on the yen crosses. Dollar, yeah, the dollar's been getting beat up pretty badly. The only one I'm really stubborn in is I'm stubborn in the dollar Swiss. I'm going to stick to dollar Swiss long. We're coming back to some weekly levels. I think this is a pretty nice, 5-wave pattern. So at least that's my outlook. This is wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We could even say this is wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So at the very least, if that is correct, again, I can't call the exact bottom here, but within reason, let's say that we start to show some bottom. Okay. ABC correction, likely come back and retest that wave 4. That gets us back to 9,000 to 9,100. Now, like I said, I'm taking a little short-term trade towards 87. I still have a larger position on this one that I'm scaling in and out of. Okay, so I'm in, this equal low around 90.50 I bought. This equal low here around 88.50 I bought. I have some positions built with a break even roughly around 9,000, but my yearly pivot and this big pocket, this is still where I'm taking the dollar Swiss back to. This yearly pivot's around 95. This monthly pivot is around 96.50, and this big pocket here is between 96 and 98. Now, initially, I thought if we formed a falling wedge or something like that, that we would come all the way back to 1.00. I may not have the patience to hang on to the trade that long, but I certainly have the patience to hang on to 95. Historically, this goes back to, if we retest, we're nearly at 2015 lows, which is sitting right around this 83 handle. So 2015 lows, the lowest lows historically on the dollar Swiss are back to 2011 when we had a bunch of intervention. All right, so dollar Swiss is really the only exposure I had. We had a breakout opportunity this week on Aussie dollar for a broadening pattern right here, and I told traders if we had a chance to take that trade and take some profit, it would have been wise, right? Right in here, if we score a point for those bulls, look to protect. And then on the downside, a broadening pattern just in case this is more indecision for the next month or two. But this was the breakout trade that we took this week. So if you were long from 67 to the highs, nice little chunk there for about 150 pips. Dollar CAD's been weak on both, but the dollar's really been the weakest of the two. So dollar CAD came down to fresh lows. We took profit on this one last week, right in here. So we took profit around 33.50. I'm glad that I got out. Just kind of waiting to see what a good trade looks like. Euro dollar, pound dollar. Euro dollar sitting at 12.30. This kind of blew off the top. That again, this could still have room to it. I'm not trying to call the top here, but also if we have, the way that this has moved, running into this 18127 resistance around this 113 handle, I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see at least a little bit of a pullback towards recent highs around 1.10. If we come back to channel lows, we're talking 108. So again, the dollar index, we're going to keep a close eye on. The Fed still looks like we have a rate decision coming by the end of the month. Here's the DXY. Okay, so just a big drop on the DXY. Where could we go? I said that a really important handle is going to be 100. We're trading at 99.88. So what's going to be interesting is since we broke that low so violently, do we, break this low and then close back above it? And does that put in a bit of a temporary bottom? I'm a little, curious if this is the dollar, right, where this is a falling wedge of some sort and the dollar makes its way back up to this yellow zone. I still think 105, 106 is doable, but the dollar is being sacrificed right now for the sake of higher stock prices. I mean, if you think about it, the S&P is up, the Nasdaq's up, the Dow's up, the Russell's up, everything's up, and the dollar's getting weaker. That's risk appetite. This week we had a lot of examples where we look at just the dashboard of Asia's up, Europe's up, US up. So what's happening? Those currencies are getting weaker, right? Dollar's getting weaker. Japanese yen had some strength the last 3 or 4 days, but that was because we had a weaker dollar. Okay, but here we are, talking about the yen, and it's weak once again. And the yen overall is still just sitting on larger trend lines where we bounced hard. Aussie yen came back to retest this trend line, came back to find some of these inefficiencies, and jumped pretty nicely. CAD yen coming back to the trend line and bouncing. This dropped aggressively, but we had opportunities. Short term, this indecision, we had overbought conditions on the daily, and it dropped. It corrected. So you just have to wait. I mean, patience is really important in trading in general, but certainly on these Japanese yen crosses. Watching this, break and finally give us 3-4 days of follow through. That's the hardest part. Is the yen is a very slippery currency pair, right? What the euro yen do? I thought we'd come back to 152 in this yellow box. We held up here. We dropped. Trying to come back and find some pocket levels, but trendline support. Pound yen, same thing. Trendline support. New Zealand yen. Structurally, it looked like we did some damage, but I wasn't, taking a swing trade out of this. I think that we just pop right back up and retest the highs. I'm missing one. New Zealand yen, dollar yen. Dollar yen, because the dollar's been weaker, we did kind of break this trend line. This is going to be an interesting setup, because if we go high to low and we consolidate here, I could see more downside for the dollar yen. Okay. Now I say I can see more downside, but I am going to be trading confirmation. I'm not scaling in. If you're trading with Japanese yen crosses, I think you need to use proper trade sizes, good risk management, and use stop losses. I don't know what the Japanese yen has in store for us later this year. I think this is pretty much a 50-50 trade. If traders said, "Hey, I think the dollar yen's going to 130," and I have traders say, "I think it's going to 152," I think there's a chance that both traders could be right. you know, and we have a lot of volatility where it's like we're sitting here in the middle. I mean, could we go here? Could we go here? Yep. And I don't know. So I continue to tell traders, 1 hour is probably the biggest time frame I'm looking at for direction, and then trading smaller on a 30 or 50-minute time frame, and going with your entries. And it's kind of day to day, week to week, right? But it's a really slippery currency pair. All right. Let's see who else is in the house this morning. A lot of good mornings. Good morning, everybody. Charles, Gary, FK, Bill. Good morning. William. Good morning. Catherine. Good morning. Wayne, what's happening? How are you? Let's see here. Zeus. Good morning. Okay. Just taking a look at everything. We're at 451. We did hit the daily trading range of the ATR. I've got the 10 and 20-day ATR, or the 10 and 20 bar ATR, I should say, on the S&P. If we look at the weekly chart, this is pretty interesting. Right here. So my weekly ATR is $11.26. Now I've got a bunch of crap on my charts, but let me measure this candle. So this weekly candle on the SPY, again, 11.26 is the forecasted trading range. So that's about the length we should be going. And I have a bunch of chart alarms, but it's right around here to current price. We're up $13.20 over the $11 and change. So we have gone well over our full weekly trading range. The SPY's up 3% this week. It's pretty impressive. Okay, the Qs for the week. What do we have for the week on the Qs? The average is $12.66, and the move for the week. Let's get this measured. Right around that low to high. It's up $17. Wow, man, this thing blew through that level by $3 or $4. So up almost 5% of the week on the Qs. Crazy. So it has been a very bullish week. Does that mean that we have a top? Probably not. I talked about this on Monday. I talked about this all week in my trading rooms. The biggest trade, probably the most annoying trade for traders, not even traders, I'm just going to say investors, is the missing out trade. Because what keeps happening? Keeps running, keeps running, keeps running, keeps running. Okay. And I think this market, it doesn't care what the Fed is doing. Clearly, the market's celebrating any type of win with better inflation numbers. So the CPI data came out this week, and we had a big drop again from 4% year over year to 3% year over year. The Fed keeps talking it down. It's not helping, right? The Fed can say whatever it wants. The Fed can say we're going to raise rates 5 times. I don't think the market cares at this point because I don't think the market believes the Fed at all. The Fed's probably going to raise rates in July. We still have a tight labor market. Inflation prices have come down. And if we look at the watch tool really quickly, you're going to see it's still baked in for that July 26th. And the pause is likely here through December. There's your pause still. Highest probability we're going to stay this way to the end of the year. And then our first rate cut probably coming in Q1 of next year. Now, the question is, if we start cutting rates for the Fed, is that because something breaks? I don't know. It's very possible that that's what happens. The Fed usually, is reactive with their monetary policy versus proactive. And so, we were reactive with COVID. Or I should say, we're reactive with inflation. And if something starts to break and we start having recession concerns and big things happening, it's going to be reactive to start cutting again. So it's funny how the Fed is so influential in the pricing of the market, but at the same time, they are never proactive. It's always reactive. And that's why things get so out of whack and there's so much volatility in these big swings and boom and bust cycles. Okay. Morning, Bill. Morning, Oliver. So if you have any charts or questions, let me know. I will be watching this morning to see where things close up. I'm looking at, 452 to the upside. I'm looking at some short-term levels here. I did some covered call work this week. In the last, I think, 10 trading days, I've lowered my cost basis on the SPY by about $10. Beyond at 19, that's another chart alarm going up. Let me get logged into my Street Smart Edge here. We've seen green every day this week, which is pretty good. I'm certainly not complaining. Euro pound, okay, CAD Swiss, we'll take a look. Yep, take a look at those. All right, just let me move over here and get logged in. Just want to get some option prices going. I think I typed that incorrectly. Hopefully that's the right password. Okay. All right. So requests, I see CAD Swiss, Euro Pound, Pound Aussie. Okay. So just directionally, Euro Pound, I'm looking for a sell trade. CAD Swiss, I'm going to hold my longs. Pound Aussie, I'm short. I didn't short it, but I was looking to get short. Wasn't sure who was asking that. I think either on Monday's session, but let's go Euro Pound. So Euro Pound, let's go back to the daily. Euro Pound is either holding this low. Okay, there's a lot of support right in this area, kind of equal lows. Let me put a line right here. So there's some support right in here. I could see if price is going to convincingly break back above, let's say, if we get back above 86, I think we're still range bound on the euro pound. 86 to 87, probably some more range trading. But with the likely BOE outpacing the euro, I could see this, that's trying to break. If we keep making lower highs, so this push here, lower high, lower high, lower high, I could see this getting some steam to the downside. So if we continue to make lower highs and lower lows, I'm looking for this to get back down towards 83 or 82.50, right? Which again, for this currency pair is not a huge trade. It's only, 300 pips or so. But if we've got some solid direction on it, it still looks pretty good. Okay. All right. So 450. Let me just check. So that's euro pound. That's what I'm looking for. So like I said, if we close back above 86, I would halt the bearish bias. But if we continue to make lower highs, lower lows, another fresh break, I would just look at this. You have a recent high, you'd have a recent high, and I would just look at staying with lower highs and lower lows, and then targeting 83. That's my euro pound. Next one was CAD Swiss, and then pound Aussie. Okay, give me a second here. Let's go. I'm going to check and see what we moved so far in the SPY. Go to the 5-minute. I've got some levels already marked out with the daily trading range. So where we opened to where we closed yesterday. Daily trading range, let me look and see where a 50% move would be. So about 390. So about $1.90. Actually about $2. So we still have a little bit higher, 450, 154. I think we can get up there. We got a big gamma level at 452. Let's go real time. We're sitting at one right now. We got a 452 level, looks pretty promising. Gap fill all the way down to 449. All right, I'm just gonna hang tight right now. Okay, CAD Swiss. CAD Swiss, I'm gonna look at the weekly time frame because bigger time frames, I'm looking at this thing. I'm just gonna buy it. I've talked about this. I am surprised we are not making more progress. I mean, oil prices have been reasonably bullish this week. Oil's up to 76 and possibly has room. I was looking at a break above 80. If we get a break above 80, we're right back to the daily 200 EMA. So this level at 65 keeps holding. This 200 EMA keeps holding. We are potentially looking at some more, support resistance and supply and demand in here. But a break above, I'd say a break above, I mean, 80 is a pretty obvious break, but even a daily, weekly close above the 200 EMA, as long as we have, I'd say, 2 candles in a row closing above this 200 EMA, we're looking for that kind of late squeeze into maybe the 90s. This might be a second half of the year trade, though. Might still be summer range and summer bound with lower volatility, but 65 is holding well. 75 to 76 resistance right now at that 200 EMA. I'm just looking at oil prices because if we start to see oil creeping higher, that should ultimately help spur commodities in the CAD, right? It should help, maybe gold, silver with the weaker dollar, which we've seen this week, and oil prices head up. The CAD should be pretty directly correlated to that. So anyway, CAD Swiss. see, 451. Okay, CAD Swiss. Here's the daily. I think one of the students, Denise, we were talking about this, looking at this as a potential crown. I said it's still valid, but if we end up testing this low, then it may be a double bottom, or I was even looking for maybe a right side of the trend line where this thing goes a little bit lower. This low is divergent, and then we start producing our bullish pattern. So I'm still looking for a bottom here on the CAD Swiss. I'm just obviously not getting it yet, right? Not yet, but close. So give me a second here. Let's see, 450 call. So let's go back to the weekly chart as well. I'm pretty sure this is the lowest it's ever been. So if we go CAD Swiss even back to 2011, where we had some big intervention levels. Here is this is 2011. This is 2015's flash crash. We had our COVID crash. I mean, if you just look at this chart from a higher time frame, it's hard not to be a buyer. And so I am. I mean, I also have conditions here where my daily time frame, I'm watching for some divergence. So we can see, you know, at current price, this momentum has been to the downside. RSI, if we get back to these lows, I mean, we might have to set up just kind of a new set of divergence parameters. But on the daily chart, I'm watching. On the 4-hour chart, it's oversold already with some divergence. On the 8-hour chart, it's got to be close. We're oversold. I'm looking for divergence to set in here. So again, getting close. And structurally on the right side of the trend line, this is what I'm watching. Let me get rid of some of this. So here's the 8-hour. Let's go back to the daily. If we have some wave counts as well, I mean, there's lots of intermediate waves, but this is wave 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, if this is 5, we got to be close. This is wave 4. So long story short is this: if we test this low or break this low, I told traders these last few weeks. I mean, I'm prepared to take this down to 63 into 6,000 and still stay in this trade as an investor. To me, my big trade is all the way back here to this green box. And so if I get a bullish pattern, I am adding to my position. So what I'm doing is I'm leveling in, and I will add when I feel like the coast is clear for us to be bullish on this. So it's test, 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 leveling in, and then add when I think that the time is right. So the time is not right, not yet, right? So either this, comes down, breaks this low, maybe we have a divergent low, then we swing back up here. That would be the right side of the trend line confirmation plus a bullish pattern, and there's going to be my profit window at 71.50 to 72. Okay. So I think that's pretty fair. All right, so 450. Let's get in here.
Order partially filled. Order filled.
Okay, any questions on that? Thanks. I don't know who put the hearts in there, but that's pretty fancy. Plus is positive swap. Yes, it is, and a lot of my positioning against the cat or against the Swiss is because of positive swap. So look, if my 2023 positioning against the Swiss is I level in and I improve my cost basis, what I'll do is I'll lower my break even price, and I'll still get paid as far as positive rollover anywhere between like 3 and 5%. So I'm still getting paid to hold the positions, which I'm not saying that's the best thing to do, especially if you're in a drawdown. But on my drawdowns, I'm at least lowering my cost basis, And then when I believe that prices are going our way and we have the confirmation to start getting long, I'll add more to it. And so my drawdown percentage, let's say it's overall like a 5% drawdown on my Swiss pairs in general. 5% drawdown in total can probably still yield me 15 to 20% upside when I'm right, because there's still a lot more firepower and a lot more margin I can put into this trade once I believe we're going up. So it's worth the drawdown and hold for me to offset that with positive carry, and then once we're actually hitting my profit targets, CAD Swiss at 71.50 or higher, Euro Swiss back to 103 to 105, Dollar Swiss back to 96 or 97. I'm trying to think Pound Swiss. I'm looking to 120 plus. So New Zealand Swiss, Aussie Swiss, all of them. Literally, the only Swiss I'm not in is the Swiss yen. Every other pair I'm in, and it's positive swap. So I can offset some of the drawdown with some rollover, and then I can try to just be patient for confirmation, and then start adding to it. But overall, it will be it will be a big profit at some point. I just need to stay patient. I don't need to get big on the trade sizes. I need to level in and just sit tight. I'm only tying up about 15 or 20% of my account with margin anyway, so I've still got plenty of ammunition left. Okay, pound. Let's go pound Aussie. Pound Aussie. So I looked at a short this week. Somebody was asking me on Monday would I buy the breakout, and I said no, and this is why. So I saw this high, this high, this high, and I said if we come back and retest this high or hit this resistance, I'd look to short it. So I'm sure somebody hopefully was paying attention. We talked about shorting it this week in the flex room, and I know some traders were short off that high. So a few bucks there. I mean that high's around 94. We're trading at 91. Okay, that was a pretty good trade. Also, I mean structurally, I like this for a swing. If this is high, low, lower, high, lower, low, I see this as a broadening pattern. So we scored a point here for the bulls, and now we're looking to get back to the midpoint or come all the way back down to the lows. So if you're shorting up here, stop loss above, I like this trade back down to 84, 85. Yeah, 1.84, 1.85 is pretty good, but shortening near the top looks pretty solid to me. We did take a trade on the pound New Zealand. Oops. Trade on the pound New Zealand. We shorted it around, trying to think. I got in. Well, I know some traders did not get stopped out, which was great because that actually worked out beautifully to the weekly pivot. Denise, I think that was you. I got stopped out on the swing. I was right here. I got in here and a pullback, and I got stopped out just above this high, which sucks. I mean, it was just like a 5 or 10 pip spike above my stop, which it is what it is. But small trade, bigger trade over here, and I took it down net positive by about 100 bucks. So all in all, I mean, I took a loss over here, took a win, walked away with $100 profit. Net result it's like 110 bucks, and I'm happy with that. So, satisfied as far as coming back and battling. So it was a good trade. Overall, if you didn't get stopped out, then it did what we wanted anyway, which is respect the highs, respect the structure, come back into range lows. So pound Aussie, pound New Zealand were good trades this week. New Zealand CAD was a great trade this week. I closed out for over 400 pips. And it's still going higher. So my bigger position is still running. But the trade that I was in just recently, I took some non-FIFO trades. I bought here at an equal low, and I bought the break of the trend line. So this was up about 280 pips, and the other one was about 240 pips. I closed it out right in here. Nice little pocket trade. And that's non-FIFO, so that was about 520 pips or so. So 520 pips or so on that New Zealand CAD, and I'm still maintaining a bullish trade overall. I'm looking for New Zealand CAD. If this is my low to high, low, high, this is a low that's forming, and A, B, this is a C. I'm looking for that D extension up here. So A, B, C, D. If we go to symmetry, 18127, get to 9,000 or 9,100. I would be happy holding the positions that I'm in. We've leveled into this. I'm happy here at price target 1. And if we go to symmetry, price target 2. But I still like New Zealand CAD. Okay. Let's see here. Can you cover the Dow? Sure. I'll go DIA. Just the ETF that represents it. So DIA. I mean, look, the Nasdaq has been the best performer by far, right? You look at the Qs, it's just crushing it this year. You look at equal weighted Qs, the QQQE. This one's up a decent amount as well. It's not up, 35, 40%, but from the yearly pivot, we're probably up close to 20% now. Yep, we're up 21%, and the Qs itself are up, close to 40%. The Dow is, more value, right? Bigger companies. It's still pretty bullish, in my opinion. I mean, we're on the verge of this potential breakout. I could see some more like July, August ranging. But what's going to be interesting is, maybe again, pushing this year, the pain trade is more up on everything. So if we get a break above, 350, I think that momentum carries us to 365, 370. And if we don't break above 350, then we're range bound back to 330 between 330 and 345. So I'm just, it's range bound. It's certainly not as solid of a performer. I mean, I think Dow is still in single digits up this year versus SPY's double digits, Q's are double digits, growth is leading the way. The market breadth still really hasn't caught up. We're getting some rotation in energy right now as oil prices are up, but for the most part, it's all mega cap tech. Now, what's interesting is we talked about this week. Did anybody see the news on the Q's rotation? Did that happen today? I thought it was supposed to happen today. We're at 381 on the Qs, and it just keeps going higher. Let me go here. My break even on the Qs, by the way, if I go back to my notes, my break even on the Qs, I own it at 361 roughly. 361. So I'm up about 20 bucks a share, but I've got it covered at 371. So I'm going to try to continue to roll this if I can. 381. Just watching closely. I mean, just gaps like crazy, but it doesn't matter. I mean, where do we open at today? We opened slight gap higher, pushing higher. I'm gonna have to kind of recalculate my levels. This one yesterday ran right up to these highs as planned. So good stuff on that, and it's just still pushing. All right. Inflation expectations 3.4 versus 3.3. What was that again? Is that today's news? What is that inflation thing, Denise? Oh, consumer sentiment. Gotcha. Let's do this. Prelim. Okay, so prelim came in positive. Yeah. Trade balance. Okay. All right. What do we have lined up for next week? We're still in July. The rate decision for the Fed is not until the 26th. Next week we have Chinese GDP, um, Aussie monetary policy minute, CPI for the CAD, retail sales for the US. That'll be a big one for consumer strength. CPI for New Zealand, CPI for the pounds. We have big inflation readings next week. This will be an important one for the pound. If we come in, forecast 8.2, previous 8.7, that's year over year. The UK is expecting to raise rates again. The Bank of England looks to get to 6.5% because they need to tame inflation and start, really being restrictive. And that's tough. I mean, you're at 8% and you're going to raise rates to 6.5. You're still not there. I mean, I'd say the U.S. is fortunate that we're raising rates to 5.25, 5.5, and our inflation readings right now year over year down to 3%. So we're already technically in that restrictive area. And I know I have to go here. I've got a Man's class now. Employment for the Aussie, Thursday unemployment claims for the U.S. All right, so not a ton of news, but we do have some CPI data come out of other countries that'll be important to watch next week. And okay, good stuff. Um, I see, Denise. You deleted the stop loss. There you go. Clever, clever, clever play. All right, all good, all good. Let's go real time. 451, 450. We'll see if today's quiet or not. 452 to the upside. Downside, I'd like to see if we can fill a gap at 447. I'm just talking SPY stuff. Did I get all the charts? Oliver, you good on the Dow? Yep. So really quickly on the Russell, the IWM. This is dropping, but it's still way up above. We were looking for a breakout above 180, and we got it. I took some stabs at the bear call side just because it paid so well. We took trades here for a dollar spread, got paid 80 cents. So our risk is 20 cents. Now, obviously, we're losing those 20 cents because price didn't come down. But it's fine. That was a small risk. It was worth taking. The bull premium was crap, so we didn't take the trade. But that's what I wanted. I wanted to straddle this, where if we see price up, we get paid. If we see price down, we get paid. But the premiums they were wacky. So unfortunately, we lost on the downside, but losing 20 cents isn't a big deal. A lot of other stuff is paying out nicely. This week we had some profit. We closed out, protected some trades. I think this week, if I look at Telegram, we did some early management on a couple of positions. We got a lot of expirations next week for equities on demand. Let's have a look here. So trade management, SLV we closed out for break even or better. IP we closed out for profit. Took some fresh trades on AT&T. We closed out. This was last week. Um, yep, we closed out last week on Southwest and Beyond. Beyond is still up. Our calls are doing well. Rig's up to $8. I mean, we have a $7 long call. GDRX, we have a long call. That one's cranking to the upside, which is exciting. And we just keep rolling. Okay, good stuff. All right, Equities on Demand students, I'll switch gears. Let's go into the trading room in Smart Trader. And thanks for being with me today. If you do me a favor before you leave, we had about 40, 50 people watching. Hit that thumbs up button for me. Like I said, I'll have some more information next week. If you'd like to take this a step further, I'm going to start doing some stuff on Discord so I can bring all my posts. I mean, I post on Twitter. I need to be a little bit more active, day to day. And I'll start posting on Twitter, sharing that in my Discord channel, my YouTube stuff, videos like this. I'll post it and I'll get the video playlists out. I'll post it all in Discord so I can have kind of a one-stop shop for all my content out there. Okay, and I'll share those links next week. And but I'll see you next week on Monday. Okie dokie. All right, thanks a lot, everybody. Equities on Demand students. I'll switch gears. We'll be in the trading room in like 1 minute. Thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend. I'll see you Monday. Thanks. Bye.